Welcome. Today, we're back at it again, blasting some basics in your mouth. We're here today, Kyle and I, on this lovely Easter Sunday. If you celebrate, if not, it's just a great, beautiful night in New Jersey, which is one of the few. The rest of the time, it's like Mad Max out here and it sucks. We're here with some roast beef flesh. Royal Beastflayers are really good, and we're here today to talk about them. We've seen a lot of people been playing them and a lot of people asking questions about them. We love them as a bespoke box, and Kyle has a lot of reps under his belt, and I've also played against them a gajillion times playing against Kyle. So I like to think I know a little bit about them, and we're here just to help you out. So please be a hero, hit that like and subscribe. Don't be a chaff. And also give us some shouts in the comments if you want to see some other bespokes coming up next, too. We're all about answering some questions and giving some basics on anything you need to help your game improve, to help you play your best Warcry. Kyle, let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is the team that I brought to the Nova Open last year. 12-man Royal Beastflayer. So a lot of reps in these guys. I actually beat Rob, who got a second in that tournament, his Hrothgorn list quite a bit few times with his Royal Beastflayer list. Um, so team definitely got some legs, got some cool tools, and we're going to talk about that today. So uh, let's start out with the pros, cons, and vibes, right? This team is fast. Like it's going to get where you want, as far as you want, almost every turn that you want. Using action economy abilities that really just kind of give you free actions, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and some armor piercing abilities, right? Like that is crazy for a team to have something that's just I can move really fast and I can ignore all of your armor. On the con side of things, they do take damage quite easily, right? Very squishy. Outside of their abilities, they're not terribly lethal in their attacks. The reaction is also kind of lackluster compared to what's out there for a lot of different teams. Like you'll see some teams are defined by the reaction. This team is certainly not defined by the reaction. But general vibes when you play them, very swarm-like, as you'd want a flesh eater court model to kind of feel, just rushing down the board and swarming somebody, right? They have that speed, so your opponent can't really outrun you. But to me, when I play them a lot, it feels a lot like 3D chess, right? You can't afford to just um, charge in there and just, you know, duke it out, right? It's not going to work like that. You really got to think about where do I want to be, why do I want to be there, and how do I want to do it. And really, they're also delusional, just like me. It's probably the reason I play this warband the most because I could just make up the most ridiculous stuff, and it fits the theme. Whatever you want, Delulu the team. Let's go. Uh, but just looking at the team stats overall, average toughness 3. It's not the best. There's a couple fours in there. Average strength 3 to 4. You're not going to be writing home about how tough these guys are or how strong they are. Wounds wise, about the same as most war bands, between 8 and 10 for most models, 12 on a couple, right? They are faster, as I said, the most war bands average about move 5. And their war band size, because of how cheap a lot of their models are, you're sitting at 10. You could easily, if you want to get multi box lists or add in allies, get above 10 if you wish as well. But, Rob, what's your feel about when you played against these guys, your fives about them?
So for as squishy as they are, we talked about them having the ghouls have 8. I know the awful hounds have 18. I know the squires have 12. We'll talk about them later. You're going to see a lot of higher competitive lists probably drop some of those, but for like running right out of a box, you have some good wound variety. But having a lot of toughness 3 and 4, they kind of disappear real fast because they have 5, and we're going to talk about waiting and abusing that action economy. They're surprisingly, they last a little bit longer than you think. Things don't start happening until you just feed ghouls. Even then, like, you miss a couple swings, all of a sudden you're at, it's got 2 life left. You didn't kill that 8 wound ghoul, could be a problem. They feel similar playing elves if you're an elf player. The 5, 3, 8. If you're used to playing with fragility like that, it's up your alley, but they come with a more robust set of tools in terms of moving. So I feel like they have a little bit more gameplay. They certainly can abuse that with allies if you for sound the hunt. and having that armor ignoring abilities or that burn damage, that direct damage on the triple attack tactics, which we'll get to later. They have a lot of cool tools. They really do. It is definitely not an easy warband to play.
No,
I think I
it's
tried the first time I tried it. I was like, why can't I do things with my ghouls? And then I realized, like, oh, you got to be a little bit more thought out. It's not questers where we're just jamming up the board, throwing dice like men. This one's a little bit more of your thinking man's warband. And I think that's cool. Gives you a lot of room to grow as a player.
yeah, definitely not the easiest of war bands to play, but that's why we're doing this video. We're trying to make it a little easier for some of you guys out
Get some of
there.
those basics in there.
Yeah, so let's take a look at some of the people on this team here, right? Um, you only get five different options here. When we talk about the list building at the end, they don't even have options. This is it. Um, you got their leader, right? He's the damage dealer. He's got the best attack profile, that 2-inch range, 3-4, my favorite end part here, 3-5, awesome damage profile. He's the one that could use that damaging ability from a range distance, right? So he's really your damage dealer. He's the one that's coordinating everything. So you both want to be aggressive with him, and you also want to protect him, right? Make sure he doesn't die. Awful Hound, as Rob mentioned, 18 wounds. Kind of a more beefy boy in this list compared to everyone else. Still only 3 toughness, but he really is just going to sprint around the board, grab objectives, tag models, get in the way, right? Especially because he can ignore terrain with some of his abilities. So just kind of like a tanky speedster running around, just disrupting your opponent's game plan. Your Baron, I put the role as an ability dispenser. When we get to abilities on the next slide here, you'll find out why. But his job is really to accelerate your team, right? Get them where they need to be. And he actually doesn't have that bad of an attack. 3-4-2-4. I've actually ended up doing way more damage with him that I really thought was going to happen. So one of those teams, like we can't be afraid to gamble some of those pieces that are making your team work. Google Squire, which is honestly slightly better than their Chaff the Tracker on the bottom, but he does also have an ability, kind of give like an AoE Wog move, so not too bad compared to some of the other abilities. I think he's probably one of the weaker ones on this list. And then, of course, the Ghoul Tracker, can't beat it. 55 points. They're the reason you can make this into a swarm band. They're cheap. They're just a really awesome unit to have access to. So that's it's kind of their roles, like, and we'll go into more later when you see the abilities, like how these roles kind of play out, um, which is right here. You want to take us through,
So
Rob?
give me two notes on that. Go back, Kyle, real fast.
Sure.
Two things. One, ghoul trackers don't have searing light. That's okay. We can pretend they do. It's okay. That's
Yeah,
just us
that's an
on
edit.
the editing. Yeah, dude.
I
Who
also
edits, dude?
spelled "and" wrong, so that should tell
Yeah,
you
I just saw that.
how
Fast
delulu I
adding,
was typing this
fast
out.
adding cheap, bro. I'm gonna chime in about the ghoul gore squires prior to the feck rework. Now, this is something for in case you've been playing the game for a little bit, and I'm just going on a quick tangent. Prior to the feck rework, the old ghoul heroes that are like 105 had the same triple, and you would ally them in to certain warbands. Some people did it in Soulblight, and you would use that triple, that WOG, that base movement speed increase. With that gone, this is one of the few options left. I think, if not the only option left in Dead Undead or in Death. I could be. Oh no, the OBR also has a triple that does it too. But it's one of the few options, and since you can't ally it in, having one might not be a bad call. I also went against them in my first round of Adepticon, and being a 5-4-12, surprisingly they hung in there and they were able to kind of throw some dice back. They weren't as terrible as I initially thought, but just keep that in mind. And now they're the only ones with Unleash the Hounds, that triple. We're just going to call it the WOG ability for short. A little bit more desirable, I think, since the Feck rework happened. Also, Searing Late on the Ghoul Tracker, pretty great triple.
Yeah, if it could do that. Once again, I said the team's delusional, so they think they can do stuff that they can't actually do.
For
So
sure.
obviously, I was
Keeping in
just
theme.
playing into the theme. Yeah,
This was
totally wasn't a
planned.
mistake. Yeah,
100%.
totally planned. Yep. So going through the stats and strats here. So really, I put some hearts and X's and checks there. This is just my personal opinion on these abilities, and as I go through them, I'll kind of explain why. Right. So starting off, I mean, you got feed the hounds, right? This is pretty much just a heal after you kill something. It's not bad if you can get it off and you can get enough other fighters around to benefit from it, but you're probably not going to be using it that much. Number two here, sound the hunt. This is your moneymaker. Like this is probably one of the biggest reasons you bring this warband. The Baron gets to use this. So essentially, if you have a triple six, I'm sorry, a double six. You cut that in half, so that would be three. So that means three models can move 6 inches as long as they're within 3 inches of starting of that Baron. So you could almost consider that three free move actions for those models, right? So on a double five, double six, like you're just you're getting a free move on three models. It's absolutely excellent. It's actually not that bad on threes and fours where you get only two models, right? A free two models moving 4 inches or even 3 inches. That's still a full move of most other war bands. So this sound the hunt is just absolutely incredible for getting your pieces where you need to go. Um, and we'll talk more later about how you could actually use this because you could use it to outweight your opponent, sling up the board. You can use it to get into engagement range to get, double attacks off on somebody because you don't have to use a move action. You could use it to push a treasure around, for example, because it's equal to the value of the ability, not their actual move action. So there's just a lot of play. And the one thing I also want to note is it doesn't say RBF models only, meaning
Correct. It's
any
not
allies you
in
bring in
faction.
here you could use it for. So, you can bring in some Soul Blight, launch them up the board. You could bring in an Astrican True Blade, launch that up the board, right? It doesn't have a charge move. Now it does. So, a lot of play here. Clambering Horrors, it is for the monkeys, essentially gives them fly, lets them go around the board, just to kind of get in people's ways. Not a bad double to have, especially in a heavy terrain format. Triple is the Unleash the Hounds, the WOG that we talked about earlier. Obviously, everyone knows why bonus move is great. The other one I really say is the bread and butter is Pack Tactics. There's only one other warband that's got something similar right now, which is the Wildercore. But it's
Killer.
essentially, as long as your hero, your leader, can see an enemy, you'll deal a number of damage to it equal to the number twice the number of friendly fighters with the Royal Beastflayer's root mark. So if I got three ghouls next to your guy halfway across the map, my leader can see him. I'd be like, bam, take 6 damage, right? He also counts himself, so it's something else to keep in mind. So if he was right behind that ghoul, sitting safe at 2 inches, swinging over him, that would have been 8 damage. Uh, Absolutely incredible ability. You could I said, four models just completely destroy an 8 wound chaff instantly. There's nothing your opponent can do about it. Get that T6 Stormcast. Who cares? We're still going to just go right through their armor. It's just absolutely incredible. The quad, not a huge fan of it. It adds two to the strength characteristics and melee attack actions for people within 6 inches of your leader. When most of your damage profiles are 1-3, a couple 2-4s, it doesn't really amplify your damage that much, right? You roll in 1-3s, you're kind of fishing for crits anyway. Um, but I do want to talk about the reaction, right? The reaction, it's essentially the same as strike them down. So strike them down is a universal reaction where they disengage, you roll a d4. If you make that, they take 1d6 damage. Dangerous Hunters just basically says if they disengage, I don't have to roll that 1d4, but instead of 1d6 damage, it's 1d3. So is it bad? No. Is it good? It's not amazing, but it can really work when it works. And sometimes, I mean, you can't turn down free damage, right? Like,
It
especially when it's
will
armor
have its
piercing free
day. It will
damage.
have its.
Yeah.
There will be a time, whether it's like 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 times, that somebody's real low and they're disengaging to stay alive. You put a point or two of damage on them, they're down even lower. Something else just finishes or polishes it off. And to add on to Kyle, you see the hearts on screen. The hearts, yeah, that's the bread and butter. That's the money. We love those abilities. The check marks are always going to have some sort of application if you see it, and just because you see an X next to it doesn't mean we're not going to ever use it. That's not playing our best war cry. We just know that it's not the priority for a lot or large amount of situations. Yeah, Tenacious Hunters isn't that great compared to a lot of other things. Baffling Parley is a million times better from Feck. But hey, guess what? There's gonna be that one time someone's not thinking, they disengage, they're at 2 health, and guess what? You roll 5 up, they're boom, 3 damage, they're done. That's awesome. You got to keep in mind that even though these are niche abilities and we're not targeting them directly, you don't want to forget them. Part of knowing the basics is knowing what your whole warband can do at all times.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. Just knowing what your toolbox is. Because I mean, I could just let you know that I've actually used tenacious hunters to kill somebody. In the
Yeah,
tournament, I actually strike them down to kill somebody. People just completely forgot that was an ability. You know, it's like, I'm going to
I
strike him down.
have
And he's like, what? I'm
failed.
like, yeah, got him.
I have failed 10 strike them downs in a row.
That
I
is
have I've yet to
yikes.
I've yet to
My
hit one. I have
my
yet to hit one.
condolences.
Oh,
It's going to
dude,
be
it's a
against me, I'm sure. I'm
oh,
sure it's
dude,
going to
yeah,
happen.
absolutely. It's gonna be for the finals. You're gonna be like, I have to, and I'm gonna roll like a d6, and it's gonna just obliterate you. It's gonna be the most tilting thing in the world, and I'm gonna be like, I did it once, guys. Another cool thing too, like we were talking about it, clambering horrors. Basically, do not count vertical distance. It's, when you're climbing, treat it as a fly on terrain, pretty much. Uh, my man, let's be real about this. There's going to be once in a while when you have that double, if you're playing that awful hound and you need to go get not a treasure because it's a beast, but if you need to go to a other side to engage something and get a swing in, or you need to get to a point real quick to get there, hey, this is a not a bad. I think Hunters of Wanchi have something very similar to this too as well, where they don't
They
count
do, yeah.
like vertical. So like it happens. These things put you in positions to win games. Take a look at the board as a whole. Sometimes maybe climbing is your best way.
Absolutely. But I mean, let's talk about using these things in missions, right? So, general strategy when you play this team is you really want to abuse sound the hunt, right? So that's the double, of course, from the Baron that gets you to move. So when I say abuse sound the hunt, the best way I try to describe it is this, and I talk about action economy a lot, right? So say your opponent's warband is 8 models, that means you get 16 actions. Say you have a 10-man warband, that means you get 20. So you already have 4 on them. So if you wait 4 times, you're equal. But then if you sound the hunt on a say double five, double six, and you get 3 free move actions, you essentially now have 23 actions. You do it twice, now you have 26 actions compared to your opponent. And especially when a lot of opponents move 3, if they're going to be playing like a Soul Blight or even move 4, uh, in not losing a move action in response, like your opponent can't afford to wait around like you can, meaning that you essentially can wait for your opponent to be done with all their models and then use Sound the Hunt to get free move just to rush into their face and start attacking for free. So suddenly those ghouls, which are 3-3-1-3, you're like, oh, I could just counter them to death. Well, can't counter if you're done going, right? So huge thing to abuse Sound the Hunt. And I've already talked about when we get to the other mission types, right? Um, I'm using pack tactics, right, to finish off or damage models. It's great, right? Because you can just do the math and say, all right, I got to attack my ghoul. If I land 1 crit, ghoul brings you down to 7 if you're at 10, and then pack tactics with 4 models nearby, he's dead, and I can move on to something else. It's just really crazy in terms of the damage you can do with it. But really, just you want to generally trust in your speed, your activation economy. You're going to usually have more models than your opponent. You're usually going to be faster than your opponent. But this means like just because I have the models and I have the speed, do not zerge their face, right? If you rush into a bunch of Soulsworn who haven't gone yet, they're going to kill 2 models, right? 2 ghouls are nothing to a Soulsworn team. Like, unless you're trying to block them from going somewhere or engage them to stop them from doing something, which is completely tactically viable. Like, just turn one, don't be like, yeah, I'm going to just run into his face and attack him because he's just going to kill you. That's what's going to happen. But if you look at objective missions, those numbers keep you favored. Early objectives are easy to reach anywhere on the map, which we'll talk about slinging your guys around, right? Because I mean, think about this, right? They move 5 each, so that's 10 move. If I use a Baron just once and I have a double 6, that essentially makes their move 16. That's crazy, right? What 55-point model gets to move 16 inches in a turn? Absolutely bafflingly crazy, right? Of course, once again, I talk about Sound the Hunt, maximize your movement, and Unleash the Hounds as well, that WOG ability to continue your movement. But what do you think about the treasure missions?
For the treasure missions, I definitely think you're favored because you have movement abilities that can really almost cheat out the movement impairment debuff from treasure, right? Sound the Hunt makes you run the value of the dice, not the move characteristic. So you can have somebody pick up, sit in position. Baron can call them back with Sound the Hunt and have them move that value. You don't have to worry about the -2 off that. That's pretty rad. And I'm also liking the fact that you're able to get people up and out faster than they can do anything, right? You also have pack tactics to be able to hunt things down. So, like a big challenge for treasure missions is, oh, somebody got it and they ran, right? Well, you need hunters. So, what's better than having 2/5, or you have not 2/5, having 2 activations for 5 movement a snap? So it's run. Okay, they're done activating. All of a sudden, you have 6 things around it, or you have 4 things around it, and then pop from all the way to the other side of the map. Maybe your dude's holding a treasure, but he could see him pop 8 damage, pop 10 damage, pop 12 damage. All of a sudden, they're in trouble, and then you have a bunch of ghouls to throw a bucket of dice. They can't disengage with that treasure. They're pretty awesome on treasure missions, and I think it's a really fun mini game of how do I get to move. What can I do if I don't get the tempo? How can I take it back? They have the tools to definitely do that, and they don't have to rely on raw damage for it, which is an added bonus, right? Because a Stormcast that gets it and they're like, well, I'm going to sit here and fight you. Well, cool. You might be able to kill one. You might be able to kill two. You have the double to swing in something. Sure. But you're also tied up and you're going to take counter. You're going to take a whole bunch of other things. There's a lot to process there. Kill missions are unfavored, right? Let's be real. These guys aren't hitting the gym very often. They're not like our soul sworn brothers, and that's okay. You're unfavored. You can't be perfect at everything. That's not how this game works. That's not how life works. And that's okay. You have Sound the Hunt still, again, for free movement. You have Pack Tactics for more damage. And you have the Feed the Hounds. If you really get into a scrum, guess what? You can heal. And that's pretty sick because there was a couple other, only a few other factions have like native heals on doubles and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. I believe they have to kill to get the heal. Is that correct?
Yeah, they got to kill and then get heal and an aura equal to the dice value. But I mean
So
that's pretty
sweet.
big, right?
That's
Like
pretty awesome.
if
Yeah.
you're swarming anyway, so you're probably
Right.
going to have some
So
friends nearby that's going to benefit.
right. And if there's any chip or anything like that, like you have a way to kind of keep it up. Like yet again, niche might happen 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10 times. But guess what? If it happens and it's relevant and that's you part of like that's part of playing your best game is knowing when to see the relevancy of this. I feel like that's a good thing. For the general strategy, I wanted to double back around onto what Kyle said. Playing in the leagues and playing a couple things, seeing a lot of people try these out and having the most difficult time is when to be aggressive or when to be defensive with these guys, right? They can't just sit back and take shots. They're going to die, but they also can't fling themselves in. What is a ghoul to do? Well, that's where Kyle and I are going to go over in another slide coming up. And we're going to talk about how to be defensive or how to be offensive, but utilizing the weight action and all these things. So yeah, I'm going to go over deployments real fast, right? If that's cool with you, Kyle. We're
Yeah,
gonna
start us off.
we're gonna be defensive. You have absurd movement. It's stupid how fast you are, right? When you have a bunch of M3 fighters and they're like, we're on our way, right? You don't have to do anything, and you have numbers. You just go, okay, cool, wait, okay, cool, wait, right? Everybody's coming up to you. You don't have to have the opportunity for them to just throw dice at you except like there's exceptions, of course. KO having a ranged gun line, not a great matchup for you, but we're not talking about that because we have feelings and dignity here. All right. So you have to utilize sound the hunt around here. We can wait, then sound the hunt, then move. And guess what? We're where we need to be. And everybody else has already done their stuff. So we're not taking damage on the way in or setting ourselves up. Now, the second turn is going to be a different puzzle, but we're already there. We already did part of our step there, right? You have to plan, just like many other war bands in this game, 3-inch bubble or like around for the utilization of pack tactics, which keeps your ghouls safe. You don't have to jam them and be engaged like 1 or 2 inches. 3 inches, not many things have a 3-inch reach. Keep them back, keep them where they need to be. You can wait till the end of the turn and start setting it up for a pack tactics at the end. Maybe you grab a triple, snap the initiative, boom, pack tactics again. All of a sudden, that might be 12, 16 burn damage, and they have nothing they can do in response to that. That's where you need to learn how to use this. And this is where this team comes up playing 3D chess, like Kyle was talking about. You have to really, really wait and know when to lunge in. You can't just throw yourself in there willy nilly, and you can't just hang back and do absolutely nothing.
Like the best
Feel,
way I like
yeah,
to describe this team sometimes is imagine you're like a hunter in the dark, right? And you're chasing your prey. In the beginning, the prey is really fast, really trying to run through, right? Wait till it gets tired, and then you pounce, right? Same
mhm,
thing here. We're using that wait action, being patient, and then pouncing all at the end when they
right,
can't do anything anymore. Very similar type of
right.
thing.
Like I'm waiting
Uh,
for the ice cream man to stop because I can't catch up, run because I'm old, and then I could drag my kids and get there in time at the corner. Boom, we got ice cream. Same simple, and it's worth it, man. It's worth it for that SpongeBob popsicle because you ain't getting it if you just try to just chase all day.
yeah, just to reiterate too, like the destination part here, like making sure we're within 3 inches as many ally models possible for Sound the Hunt and Unleash the Hounds, right? So be within 3 inches for the Baron. I mean, Baron just to sling people up, right? But then we also have pack tactics, right? As Rob said, you don't have to engage. Make your opponent come to you, right? Make them use a move action to get one attack, and then you can counter, or you just double attack back, right? Like make them be the ones that engage you if you have the opportunity to do so, and then just have all those models within 3 inches, and then boom, you can snipe them, right? And remember, you don't have to snipe the closest one; you can snipe over other models too, which is really sick. Um, and then really, like, you also can't be too afraid to lose a model either. Like I've been talking about a lot of defensive stuff, but if the opponent has a tyrant and it's going to probably kill some stuff, it's okay to park a ghoul right in a way where it's probably going to die, right? But sacrificing a 55-point ghoul to tie up a 300-point model technically means I could do that for 6 turns in a row if it kills one
Mm.
ghoul per turn, and then we're just equal in the amount of points spent on that model. So if one 55-point ghoul ties up a 300-point tyrant for an entire turn, you're probably winning. That's a really good thing for you to happen.
Mm.
Um, and Rob brought it up earlier too, like clamoring horrors, those monkeys, to surprise your opponent. They're gonna be like, all right, like sure, you can move 16, but he's gotta go all the way around this building. He's gotta climb over. And your monkey just goes, no, no, I'm gonna go straight over that and still end up in your face in one move action. So um, but yeah, generally speaking, don't charge face straight off the bat. Pick your time to fight. Like that's going to be really important. But these tips and tricks won't spend too much time on the slide because one, the tricks are going to go over the next couple slides. Two, we're going to about the tips. I can't say this enough. Utilize the weight action. That my team jokes to me all the time that Kyle's the weight action simulator. But when you have more models than your opponent, and your opponent cannot attack you unless you're KO, for example, right? But say like it's standard Soul Blight has no shooting, zombies only move 3. Make them move. Make them waste their actions moving because, as I like to tell people, my ghoul moves 5, your zombie moves 3. That means for each 2 actions of your zombie, that's 1 action to move for me. I can afford to wait. They cannot afford to wait. So utilize that, especially when you have more models than your opponent. In most missions, like you're gonna play the movement game over a killing game. This isn't a warband that you're gonna go in there and table the opponent in most cases. Sometimes you might, just because sheer swarm ability, dice, right? Get lucky on a couple ghoul crits, could happen. But for the most part, you're just really gonna use that movement time. The tricks said a whole bunch of stuff we're going to do. We're going to go through that, but really just the tactics mentioned again. Use your speed to bully the opponent. Use your abilities to cheek actions, right? So make your 10 miles will feel like 13 just if you use the double move twice. But do you have any other tips? I mean, you played against these guys a ton, like especially for shooting, right? Like my tactic for that.
Yeah, so in case the people probably have asked a couple of times to themselves while they're watching this, like, okay, what if I am going against KO? What if I am going against Bolt Boy Boss, Hrothgorn? How do I deal with it? Well, KO is just tough, right? No matter what you're going to do, a lot of them have base level shooting at point blank. Sure. But if we don't want the big guns to touch us, they all usually have a minimum. And that's when you use your speed. That's when you use everything to get in as soon as possible, get engaged, tie them up, start burning models out, start getting an activation advantage, and slowly climbing back in, not letting them have a shot by staying engaged. It's a tough life. It's going to suck, but it's one of the best and only options you have at that moment.
And the point is too, you don't even have to engage the Aether Cannon, right? So
You just
remember,
engage other things.
shooting
Right.
rule state, I cannot shoot into combat unless two things are true. I'm within 3 inches of the model I'm trying to shoot, and I have no minimum range of my gun. So as long as one of your opponent's models, say a KO guy moves, he moves onto an objective, I can use my Baron to sling 3 ghouls onto that model, engage that model, and those 3 ghouls are now safe from Aether Cannon shots because can't shoot into engagement range. Even then, like maybe it is a model like the Aether Chemist who has the 6 inch range, right? Well, if he's 7 inches away, he's gonna have to move first and then only gets one shot, right? So you're essentially utilizing the rules to protect your models by preventing them from shooting into combat of their own guys. Really, only exception to that, by the way, I'm gonna just bring this out there because Horns of Hashut's out there. Utilize your move to spread out. It's the only thing you're gonna be able to do. Sometimes you're gonna have to group up a little bit. Just give them a choice of what, 1 ghoul or 2 ghouls.
Right.
It's gonna make that triple not feel as great when they can't
Right.
hit 3, 4, 5 ghouls at the same time. Especially like in the beginning when you're deploying in a full circle, right? You got a 3 inch full radius. Put 1 ghoul all the way over to the left. Put 1 ghoul all the way over to the right. Suddenly they're not 2 inches apart from each other, so that flamethrower would not be able to kill both. Will kill one? Probably, but nothing you can do about that, right? Just like they have nothing they can do about pack tactics. But let's go through some examples. So they're very similar to the Soul Sworn, but Rob, want to walk us through this what you can do from a slingshot and a bait and switch perspective?
Ooh, the slingshot bait and switch, classic for a lot of things that have a lot of play. If you haven't watched a Relic or Victor or video, can't even speak. Go do it. Don't listen to me other than that. But here's the thing with like we say slingshot is to be able to have one model propel other models. We look closely at the map. I believe your Baron is number one at the
Yep,
bottom, and they will use Sound the Hunt. Say we have a double six because that's the way to go in life, right? We're lucky. Double six, right? In a 3 inch, it's going to use a half a value of that. So these three models, those three Gore Squire 2 trackers, are going to go, I believe, 6 inches.
that's correct.
They're going to sling right up there. But guess what? We're not done. He's going to wait. And then whatever else they're going to do, the other boys at the other end are going to do something. We're going to take that Baron, move him closer to be within in the 5 inches. So we're going to get right behind their butts, and we're going to be able to be in a 3 inch bubble. We're going to use Sound the Hunt again. So these guys haven't even moved. They're on points. They're taking points. They're tying things up. Guess what? They've Ghoul 2's moved 11 inches pretty much, or if we have a double six and a double five, it also works with treasure. So try to keep that in, like these movement things are going to be able to cheat a lot out. And this is where you get to be creative as a Warcry player and be able to, you're playing somebody who's not ready for these movement abilities and be like, this is ridiculous. So this game, I can't believe it's unbelievable. That's awesome, dude. That means you're playing your best game right there. You're on top of your abilities. You're utilizing this. Then you still have three more activations to go. They've most likely already went because they don't want to do it. They might throw a spear or two at you. These looks like flame seekers.
Yeah.
Who cares? Whatever. Fly them up. Do what you got to do. Take points. Win the game. And like, again, this is what's great. And same thing with the bait and switch, having them up and then having them come back. Call it a yo-yo if you want, whatever you want to do. Excuse me. And then you get this done too. I mean, it works the same way with Baron using the sound and move everybody back, and then he could call them all back if he wants to. If he doesn't like the go call an audible, if we don't like what's coming at us, if something across the board is scary and we didn't anticipate it, call them back, make them spread out, make the person miss position, then go run 10 inches and go take points. Go have a fun day.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. And to me, it's like, what other team out there, if you have a double five, double six, has three models get essentially a free 11-inch charge move
It's
with
wild.
one model? Like, that's nuts, right? Like, 11-inch charge move with three separate models just by using one model is essentially what's happening. And then, yeah, that bait and switch is going to be huge with this team, right? Because your opponent's going to want to kill your models because you have more, meaning that they're going to have a really hard time on objectives. So, picking like one objective, and your opponent's like, I'm going to go there and fight you there. And you're like, see ya, you could chase me to the next objective. Your opponent's just going to be running circles with you around the map. It's like one of the old Scooby Doo things, or in the haunted house running from door to door. And you're just like, nope, can't catch me, keep going. And on the bottom here, right? This works with treasure. So if someone's carrying a treasure, I can now essentially on a double five, double six, move them 11 inches in addition to their own move, which
Heck
is
yeah.
crazy considering how
Easy,
slow
easy
treasure makes you.
peasy. Get in and get out.
But yeah, double the pack. So I brought this one up because I just want to talk about pack tactics, right? One of my favorite abilities in the game. I've hit for 16 on this before. I've hit for 14 on this before in certain matchups. In Nova, I did that to kill Stormcast, and my opponent was not ready for it. Um, but it's super simple, right? All this kind of does is we'll say I wrote one triple. It's actually two triples, but or it could be between two turns, as Rob brought up earlier. So essentially, all you have to do is Master goes pack tactics. If you have another triple in the same turn, just wait. Activate the Master again. Pack tactics a second time. So if you look at the Flameseeker down there, he's got three models surrounding him. Flameseeker's only got 12 health. So I go pack tactics, half his life is gone. If I had a second triple, pack tactics, I killed a Flameseeker, never had to fight him. And if you don't have two in one turn, pack tactics, as Rob said, seize the initiative. Beginning of next turn, pack tactics again, it's dead. So really positioning yourself in a way where you're not going to die and utilizing, once again, as you saw here, the wait action to double up on abilities can really accelerate the damage here. And I've done this quite a few times before. Just pack tactics, wait pack tactics, and opponent can't do anything about it. And they just sit there like, all right, I'm going to just take however many damage I have from the number of models around me.
Adding on to that real quick too, like another sweet tip. Let's see if these guys are ooh, I got something going on over here. 1 second here.
Well, Rob's doing that. One thing I want to point out is the Flame Master there at the bottom is actually engaged to that Vulcan Flame Seeker. That's okay, right? The ability states that it just has to be a visible enemy fighter. Doesn't matter if you're engaged, as long as you can see it, you're good to go. But while Rob's gone, I'm gonna take over here and jump over to it.
We're good.
Yeah.
We did it. We just kicked an audio wire loose right there.
Oh,
Um,
is that what it was?
yeah, it was just going. Brrr. So it just disappear under a desk mid video. So here's the cool thing too, and being part of creative, right? Say that Flame Master's engaged up there, he can be engaged and still pack tactics across the
That's
map.
literally what I just said. I'm not
Did
even
you?
joking. I literally discovered that. So clearly we're on the same wavelength
Listen,
here.
listen.
So
I said it first. That's all. I was gonna say it first. I'm
it
done.
was in his head first.
Just go through this.
The
We
flesh
got.
eater's court delusion is seeping through the screen, I think, right now.
I did it first.
So you want to talk to him about weight action simulator, or should I do this as I'm the
Yeah,
weight
dude.
professional?
Cause we gotta. I know you're a professional at it, but I'd like to think I learned a few things. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna wait, right? And then they're gonna move, and then you're gonna wait again, and then they're gonna move, then you're gonna wait again, and then guess what? They're out of activations. Then you're gonna do whatever you want to do. And why is this so good? Well, you're taking advantage of them having to double move into places and not get what they want. Um, I mean, just math it out, right? 3-man team, 6 activations, 4-man team, 8 activations, 3 activations off sound the hunt for you. So you're essentially just going up with whatever you want to do, you know, and you just kind of just bait it out. And that's it. You just wait, you wait. And it's frustrating. It is so frustrating to play against when you're just like, I'm ready to play some good old war cry. And then you're just like, my guys are running up. And all of a sudden it's wait, wait. And then they're not getting interaction with you. You're waiting to put yourself into your best position and then you're reacting. And that's, I think, a really fun game if that's what your style of play is. This is definitely a team for you that's really good at it. Along the lines, it just seems to be a vintage death play style with a lot of activations, or just horde in general play style, being able to wait and then run. But having 5 inches and having sound the hunt really lets you play with weight a lot more effectively.
Like, sure, these guys can throw axes, but let's imagine a situation where they're not even on the point, right? All three move on to the point, and then what? They're going to wait? Sure, who cares, right? Because I can wait way longer. And then once again, I got a double six. I can charge into range of any of those models with three of my models, meaning, and this is where I talk about weight of dice a lot with this team too. I have three models that have three attacks each, right? So that's 6 attacks per model. I have 18 attacks on one target. I don't care like if you're rolling 5 ups on 18 attacks, you're going to do some damage. You're going to get some crits, unless you're incredibly unlucky. They say on
Unless your
average,
name's
right?
Kyle.
Yeah, unless your name's Kyle. Uh, so let's say on average, right, 1 out of every 6 attacks is a crit. So we'll say 1 out of every 6 attacks is also a hit. So that's 4 damage. So on 18 attacks, you're doing 12 damage, meaning I can move these three models in. It, I'm not gonna say reliably, but have a solid chance just to absolutely kill one of his models, and they're already done activating. Nothing else he can do about it. Gosh help them if there's also a leader across the board, and I rushed in there with those 4 models, attack, kill one, and then pack tactics another one for 8, bringing it down to 4. Like you're just setting yourself up for such a good turn overall from that standpoint. So yeah, weight action simulator, try it out.
Even better, right? They move. They're like, next turn, I'm gonna remove some ghouls. You're all weighted. They're like, he only has one thing. He's just gonna move in and that's it, right? We're gonna duel it out. No. Sound the hunt, scatter. Let them take the objective, take other objectives. You've now just stranded so many points on the board and they can't get where they want to get to because you just outran them.
Yep.
Granted, it's
Yeah.
not every single position, but that's definitely what it is. You don't always have to kill to win the game. And I think as a Death Row player, I struggled with that idea because I'm like, where are you going? I just want to remove models. And then you realize all of a sudden, well, removing models is great, but you know what else is great? Taking points and being in a better position. So
Like
wait,
you're
move.
gonna like to add on to that, like you're gonna notice this team a lot of games. If you play to the mission, especially on objective missions, it will not be uncommon that you get ahead between turns one, two, possibly three. And then your team's basically wiped out by round four, but you're so far ahead on points because your opponent could not compete with the objectives that it doesn't matter that you have almost nobody left. You already won the game at that point, which
So
is
yeah,
another
just
reason this
gas
team can be
pedal.
frustrating to play against because your opponent feels like it's an uphill battle trying to kill all those things, and that's how you want it to feel like. Taking objectives, controlling the pace of the game, making them kill you, and they kill you, well, it's too late. Sorry, you're not gonna have enough time to catch back up.
If played right, by the time they start removing pieces, doesn't really matter. Pieces are just roadblocks that you can expend at that point, and you just take what you want. Next, let's go. Let's wrap this up.
All right, so I put together a scenario. So I just want, obviously, there is no correct answer to the scenario. I put this together as a way of thought exercise, help you guys kind of think through this team about what can I do, what do I want to do, what's my objective, right? So in this case, instead to turn four, you hold one objective, right? That dead center objective. One of them's unheld in top right. Bottom left, your opponent does hold that one. Your opponent has less models than you. So in this case, we see that the opponent has two models in the center. I have one down at the bottom. He has one at the top. So right now it's five models to three. So two ahead, pretty good, right? Here's the thing though, like these are deadly models. Like, these are flame seekers. You get close to them, you're probably going to die, especially with their double ability. Of course, they could throw axes, but I mean, that's a chance. It's not that many of attacks. Even if they hit, it's one damage. If they crit, sure, it's three. Unlikely to kill a ton of stuff. They're just throwing axes all day. But if your ability dice, say you got double fives, double sixes, two singles, two wild dice, right? How do you guarantee a tie? How do you guarantee a win? So whole bunch of options you can do here, right? Number one, right? We talked about it in the last slide. Just wait them out. See what your opponent's going to do, right? Because he's going to have to commit to an objective at this point. He needs to stand somewhere and say, I control this. And if he does that, you wait, he waits. You wait, he waits. You're going to win that. You're going to win that weight off because he's going to wait it out. They'll have two in the center, one on the top. Boom. Your Baron's going to go. Use that double six. Sling to the top. Cool. Take it, runs down to the middle. That was the second one that he slung. You take the guy from the bottom, run him up. Now you got 3-2. Now you got three objectives, and your opponent can't do anything. So obviously, easy way to do that, right? Um, Something else you could do, right? You could say like, well, I don't want to wait because my opponent maybe does have those throwing axes, right? He might actually be able to kill me. So instead, what you can do is say, all right, well, I'm going to move to Baron double, get him in there, or maybe maybe this mission is a mission that requires you to kill someone on a point, right? You could use that wait option. Your opponent's like, well, you need to kill me to win, right? Sure, I'll play this waiting game with you. Then you move them in with that Baron, and then your Flame Master at the bottom goes, all right, cool. I'm going to just kill you because I've got four models. You're at 12 life. Those three move in, get some attacks off, and then pop, 8 damage from pack tactics. Just a lot of options here. Vast majority of them are going to be movement oriented, weight oriented, but you can move, right? Like your opponent can't. They only move 3 inches. They can't bounce back and forth through objectives. Like one of the things, like I always tell people, you could do too is those two top ghouls can rush to the top. Your opponent might say, all right, he's going for the top objective, and then moves that guy from the middle up to try to kill them. He's now off that objective. Use that Baron double to push him back the other way. Cool. You made your opponent overcommit to the top objective. Now you can come back, right? Just so many tools that you have at your disposal to kind of like bamboozle your opponent by rushing back and forth. And you still have that burst of dice from pack tactics just to kill somebody. So a lot of options there. But is there anything else you'd like to add there, Rob?
No, it just dawned on me that like the crazy ghoul like hunting pack, with frenzy ripping flesh monsters is really the most patient of them all. Just hang back and see what's going on. Really not on theme. Abilities on theme, but really the play style. I just realized is like completely not there. But it's super. It's a super interesting play style, and it's a super good way to help build up your ability to see the end game puzzles like these, and as well as being able to learn how to play the objective rather than playing let's just throw dice at each other and hopefully I remove you and I win. It feels good to do that, but it feels even better to walk away with a W that you had to figure out how to use abilities to get around and see what they're going to do. They obviously can't move off to fight you. What are they going to do? Throw some spears? Who cares? And you can just sit there and launch ghouls. I mean, it's really cool. And please, in the comments, tell us some of these cool ideas you have for the people that stuck around for this. Tell us everything that you saw and thought about, and let's
Tell us
talk
what you
about
would
it.
do,
Yeah, dude, tell
honestly.
us what you would do. Teach us something because like we don't know everything. Teach us something, please.
But let's close this out, right? So the
Done.
list, as I said, I'm only going to talk about one box lists. Obviously, there's a million ways you can build these boxes. We start talking about allies. There's only one way to build the box. It's one of the best parts about the warband. You just grab the box, you follow the directions, you're done. I don't have to think about options. This is it. Got my Flaymaster, 2 hounds, Baron, 3 squires, 3 trackers. Done. Right. That's one of the reasons I actually really like this box too, is because uh, I don't have to think about it, right? There's no weapon options. So I don't have to decide, like, do I want the range weapon or do I want an S6 weapon? How do I want to put this together? I could just put this together, throw it on the table. I'm ready to go. From an allies perspective, any Underworld's warband that can bring in some tankiness or utility is really helpful. Um, so the Crimson Court, I talk about like the vampires are really good, especially Duval, who's got the double to increase crit damage, which is really nice when you're just fishing for crits anyway on those ghouls, right? I really like the Headsman's Curse in particular with this warband. As the wielder of the blade, very strong attack profile if you give it an attack blessing, and a resurrection, right? So if your opponent thought 10 fighters was annoying, what about 10 fighters I could just resurrect anywhere on the map? That's great. Fantastic, right? Nearly any Flesh Eater Course leader, the new ones, are great for this warband. They give everything you want. They give that tankiness that you want. They're just as fast as your guys. They're not going to be left behind. So the Abhorrent Archregent running up 4-4-3-5 is going to do some damage. Even the Vargolf, I think, is a really cool addition to this list because it's a big model. It's got 4-5, 3-5 attack profile, and you're like, oh, I got to move and attack. Hey, with the Baron, just sling them right into combat, right? That's fantastic. And one thing I like to note too, and probably the thing I want to play test the most, is they have the double talons or something like that, which means that if your opponent disengages after you've used this ability in Flesh Eater Courts, they take 1d6 damage. So partner that with the Flame Master's abilities, where they automatically, on a reaction, can do 1d3. So then your opponent's taking 1d6 plus 1d3 if they disengage from anyone within that bubble, which is crazy, right? Like, oh, 8 wound model's going to disengage. Yeah, it could has potential just to die on a good dice roll. Like that's kind of nuts. It forces your opponent to say like, well, maybe now I can't disengage and I have to stay here. It's giving them that bad options, that bad choice. Crazy. Um, Rob, you wanted to say something? I could see it.
No, I absolutely agree. I think using the feck the feck double to say disengage take d6, they have to be in a really desperate spot. So it's almost like saying like I have some ghouls here and my feck dude. I don't want you going anywhere, so I'm spending this double to guarantee you're here next turn. You have to look at it in a way to control space. If you set it up late game where they have to disengage, then you're getting some big chunkos down. It depends yet again. Get creative. It's how you use it.
Yeah, so when I tell people to say, well, how I build it, said I'm not the master about everything and how to build it, but the way I prefer to play it is one of the leaders, one flame master, 2 barons, 7 ghouls, which always you have a nice solid 10 fighters right there, right? Which leaves 210 points for an ally, in which case I usually like to bring like an archregent or a wielder. So you have 11 models, meaning pack tactics is still going to hit like a truck. If you bring wielder, you got that resurrection ability. Essentially, you're just like really capitalizing on the fact that those barons can sling people around the map. My favorite way to play them. But just finish it out here. Some thoughts. Very unique playstyle to Warcry. There is not a lot of teams I can play like this. Now, a lot of teams are both a horde warband that also have incredible speed and maneuverability. Uh, Great for someone who likes to play Warcry as a kind of a tactical big brain game, trying to solve the puzzle each and every turn. From a painting standpoint, I mean, honestly, it's just like half naked cannibals. So, uh, sure, it's a lot of models, but it's mostly skin and Messi's right in the theme. I mean, they're just bloodthirsty ghouls. So, slap some green on them, dry brush them, make the weapons all rusty and ready to go, and you're done. They're gonna look great on the tabletop. Um, My only wish list for them is I wish the reaction was like a little bit better rather than maybe 1D3, maybe a flat 3. We can make them a little bit more, okay, this is like a stronger reaction for the team. But for some spice, try running only like a 7 or 8 model warband and really utilize that Baron's move to bring in like, I don't know, 2 Astrigan True Blades and just launch those glass cannons up the board and see what kind of damage you can do.
We're gonna
Uh,
go Baron, launch Zombie Dragon.
I mean, you can, yeah. That's a team right there for sure.
Right, just go Baron, Zombie Dragon, wait, Zombie Dragon again, give them the 2 activations. They're just like, I don't want to play.
Yeah, my zombie dragon needs more activations, clearly.
Get bracketed. I think my wish list. That's an interesting point of view. I know I try to avoid conjecture like this because we could wish a lot of things, but I think like the better reaction. But if the Ghoul Squires were like 80, 85 points, I think they'd be cooking.
Oh yeah,
Like
that's true too.
95 is kind of steep, but like they feel good when you play, like when they're played. Also, the model's inherently sweeter than the regular Ghoul Tracker.
They're a
So
little
like we
bigger,
draft
they got
those,
better weapons. Yeah,
they
they're
got the
kind of sweet.
skull hats on. They just
Oh
look
yeah.
meaner. Like I'm into it. I'm feeling it. Just make them a little cheaper, and we're good. But again, like then you're making something with WOG cheaper, and that's scary.
For sure. But that's it for me on the Flesh Eater Courts, Royal Flightmaster, the Beastflayers, RBF, resting Fun Face. But any closing remarks, Rob? Anything you wanna talk about?
Please give us some more. What do you guys want to see for bespoke bands, compendium bands? What do you want to see? Tell us down in the comments. Hit us up on Discord. Show us some love. Tell us what you want. We'll make it. We got already 3 or 4 cooking in the oven. We're gonna bring some other Three Heroes One Shaft members in here to get some more options and some more basics for you guys. But honestly, just let us know what you want to see. We'll make it. And
Yep.
I think that's it, Kyle. I think we're done. We
Yeah.
blasted enough
Just
basics in the mouth to fill a small stadium up. You know.
Yeah, and just once again to add to his comments too, it doesn't even have to be about just what you're seeing here on the screen, right? In terms of teams, like if you want the videos to be shorter, let us know. You want them to be longer, let us know. If you want to see more of a certain type of slide or less, I can't change things unless you let me know. So just give us that feedback, good or bad, and we'll do our best to try to make a better experience for you. But with that, Kyle signing out.
This is gonna be Big Rob going down. Let's go.
All right, have a good night, all.